listening to the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Ladies, don't you know you are fearfully and wonderfully made? You are far more precious than rubies. You are destiny shakers. Fellas, you are strong, visionaries, and mighty kingdom builders. Together, we are Virtue with Vision, the podcast. We discuss relationships, goals, life, and a whole lot of Jesus. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Let's tune in to this week's episode. Welcome to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, I'm super duper excited about this new series, Doing Business God's Way. And man, the guest on this show tonight, she is so powerful. She is such a powerful woman of God. I came across her last year and I was just like, who is this? I need to have her on the show. She is amazing. And I cannot wait till you guys get to meet her tonight. But if you have ever thought about starting a podcast, even though enrollment is closed now, and I'm in my first cohort of the year, you can still get on the waiting list. If you're wanting to start, grow, and monetize your podcast, you can do so by going to www.podsandexcellence.com. But let's tune in to the sponsored content.
Have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Tonight, I have guest Prophetess Katara. Can you say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday and good evening to everyone, however you're connected. Good evening.
Thank you so much for being a part of Virtue with Vision tonight. And I know that I know a little bit about who you are, but the people may not know. So if you can, please let us know who you are and what you do.
Yes, my name is Prophetess Katara Hull. I'm born and raised from Chicago, Illinois, and I have my own ministry, Katara Hull Ministries, right here in Chicago. At one time we were in a location, but we are now virtual like everyone else is, but it has been amazing. Running the ministry, I brought it from a perspective of wanting to just have an outreach, to be able to reach people. One thing I always say about myself, if you ever come into contact with me, two things you'll always know. You'll always know who you are, and you will leave knowing where you're going. So with our ministry, we connect with people from all around the country, and we are on and just encouraging, very heavy in our ministry concerning destiny, concerning the purpose of why you were born. So it is just my desire to see everyone fulfill their God-given purpose in the earth, because we all have one that we were destined to fulfill.
Ooh, that's good. See, you already touching on stuff tonight, Prophetess. You already touching on stuff. So I absolutely am excited. I see that you have a prophetic journal. Can you tell us a little bit about this journal that you have?
Yes, I actually have it right here next to me. This is a prophetic journal that God gave me about a year ago. And what he gave to me was, if you search the scriptures, there are moments when there were great victories that was in the Bible, and they will mark those places as places of memorial. So that generations will come behind them. They would say, this is the place of Rehoboth where God made room for Isaac. And so God gave me this journal to do. And it is not just a journal that's like pages that you just write on. It is actually a place where you can document what God has done for you and your family. And so, concerning this journal, what God revealed to me as well is that there were going to be moments and times of great victory for the people of God. And He told me to create something so that when they get this journal, they can write the vision, watch it come to pass, and then mark it off. And I want to just share this part. And in the journal, also, I want to add that it also tells you how to wait, because there are many times that we get a word and we get excited about it, but we never get instructions on what to do in the midst of waiting for the promise to come to pass.
Well, we're gonna have fun tonight. We're gonna
Yes,
have
so
fun.
so
We're
what
gonna
God
have
told
fun.
me, yeah, we are. He gave me instructions on how to tell you how to wait, what to do while waiting. The instructions on why you're waiting. How's your posture? What's your confession while you wait? What do you do? And so, I had it in my mind like this. Back in the day when we were younger, we would go to like our grandparents' house, whoever that person was in the family that kept all the pictures. And if you guys remember, on the table, the cocktail table, there was a family photo album. And you would grab the album, you would start flipping. Oh, that's great grandma. Oh, that's auntie.
Mhm.
When God gave it to me, He said this would be a journal that will go from generation to generation, in the sense of when your children read what you went through, they'll say, oh, if my mom was able to come through that, then I definitely can come through it. Or if this is the God that brought my dad out, then I know He would definitely bring me out as well. So it's
That's
just
good.
journal to be able to guide you and instruct you on what to do while waiting for the promise, because one thing we can all know is that the promise is definitely going to come to pass. So it's almost like an instructional book on what to do while you're waiting.
Oh, so we just gonna walk through from the beginning because this is you just gave me so much insight. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you say that you love to talk to people about destiny and knowing where they're going so they understand who they are, a lot of times we get in this mindset of, man, maybe this job is just for me, or this I they don't ever really tap into what God has for them. How can you help someone tap into that? How can they understand that there is more to them than the job that they're called to go to every single day?
Yeah, I always make this statement that, my mom and dad came together just so that I can be born, right? Because I needed to get in the earth realm, that I come from God. So when He created me because He's a purposeful God. He does nothing without intent and purpose. So when
Period.
He created me with a purpose, and my parents were the vehicle for me to get here. And I think it's very important that we follow our lives. A lot of times we curse our seasons and our days, right? We look at our lives, and I always make this statement, how God created time. He doesn't need it, but He created it so that we can be governed by it. And sometimes the enemy torments us with time. He makes you feel like you ran out of time. He
Ooh,
makes you feel like you're too old. He makes you feel like, well, maybe I missed my seasons. And one thing we understand, that seasons do come back around. So I often say, follow your life, whatever it is that you are drawn to, whatever it is that you will do. And we all heard this, you'll do for free, or whatever it is that makes you desire to do it, right? Is what you're normally called to. As a little girl, I talked all the time. I have older siblings, and I was always the talker and the sassy one. And not knowing that God was going to use me to one day be able to speak to thousands of people. So He was training me. And so the way I would direct people to their destiny is follow the path. Don't curse your days. This saying that says what your misery was will always or most likely turn out to be your ministry. So if we follow
mhm.
our days and begin to look and see how God brought us over and brought us through, we can kind of connect the dots to say, well, maybe that's the direction that I'm supposed to go into. And also, we all were born with gifts. Every
We
single
all.
earth has a gift. Just think
Mhm.
about it. Tina Turner, she was born with the gift, right? Her gift was to sing, and people from around the world have
World.
thousands and thousands of dollars to come and see her just operate out of her gift.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important to realize that we have a gift. And the way to me to be able to find out what your gift is to be around people that are of your same kind, right? What do I mean?
Mm,
Not so much as we like the same thing, but kind is mindset. So you have to be around people that can see in you and that can see further than you, and they can begin to pull it out, because normally your gift is recognized by somebody else, not by
that that's good. You just dropping all the gems tonight. Oh yes.
it's, yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to, say, if it's a business owner, right? And this business owner is like, okay, I'm stepping out on faith. I'm starting this business, but there's no customers. I'm
Mhm.
starting this business. God, are you sure you gave me this purpose? Are you sure you gave me this insight? How, and like you spoke a little bit about it, saying, even in the midst of you waiting, what is your posture? What is your confession? How do you encourage that business owner, that new business owner that's like, I'm out here, I'm doing this, and it's not, I don't see the millions, Lord, that I saw in my head. We're at stage net zero. So how do you encourage someone in that season of building?
Yeah, you have to filter your belief system. I think in the mindset of systems, right? Everything functions according to a
A
system.
system. I love you already. I believe in systems.
It,
You
it,
don't have systems, it's not
yeah,
gonna work.
functions when you really meditate on that, everything functions according to a system.
Yep.
And so when you think about it, you have to kind of filter your belief system every day. The
Yep.
question is not if everybody else believes, do you believe? Because one
Mm.
thing that can never be taken away from you
Is
is
your
your
belief.
belief system. And so I would encourage a business owner who's not seeing the numbers, who's not making the millions yet, to always refer back to what they saw. What did God show you? And this is what I love about God. He'll reveal something to you. Well, let me say this first. He never shows you anything that he has not already given you. He will never show you anything that
Jesus.
does not belong to you. He will
Mm.
never show you anything that he's not already given you. So if he's shown you that you're supposed to have, let's say, a donut business, then he will also, in that midst of what you're going through as far as building, he'll give you moments of encouragement. So my advice is to stay focused on what he first said, to stay focused on the fact that if he said you are to start a donut business, that you have to study, you have to learn everything you have to learn about donuts. You have to learn the system of donuts, right? You have to learn when donuts are good and when they get stale.
Nope.
You have to learn when people are hungry for donuts. And so you have
Yes.
to be in the mindset of just going back to what he said and simply believing. It's nothing else attached to it, but just simply believe it. And if you believe, belief will begin to produce patience, and patience will begin to produce expectation. And what you are expecting, if you really expect it, you will not let it go until you see it come to
See it.
pass.
That's a word right there. You will not let it go until you see it come to pass. There
Yeah.
could be people, like, it could be your parents, it could be your friend, it could be your boo thing. That's like, well, it's not really happening right now, so I think you should get a job. It's not really happening right now, so I think you should just let that be your side and do this instead. There
Yeah.
will be people all around you, surrounding you, telling to try to deter you from what God has called you to. God didn't call them. God didn't give them your purpose. God didn't give them your vision that he gave you. So you only have the power and the wherewithal within yourself. So if that power is at work on the inside of you, like if you want God to do exceeding and abundantly more, everyone gets excited about that. Oh, Lord, thank you, exceeding abundantly more than we can ask or think. But it says according, comma, to the power that is at work within you. So you need to understand what power is at work within you. If you want him to do exceeding, you have to be able and willing to work in the power. And sometimes when we're new to this, or we're new into this Jesus thing, or we're new into ministry, we're new into his kingdom, we don't have the grasp of what it is to have faith. God will stretch your faith in ways, because baby, I know,
Uh,
I know he will
yeah.
stretch your faith in ways. that the faith that you have for a house is not the same faith you have utilized for a business or a bigger vision or something else. It's always going to be something you have to constantly work at.
Yes.
So let's talk about this waiting period, because it's okay. We have 15 minutes. We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about this waiting period, because waiting is hard. And I'm saying that because Mary herself, I don't like to wait. I feel like this is the time frame, Lord. And if this ain't in the time frame, I don't understand what's going on. So me and my immature faith, I used to have temper tantrums with Jesus, because I was just like, this is not happening in my time. What's going on? Now that he has pruned me a little bit, I just take things day by day and I seek his face first. So when we come back, we're going to talk about this waiting period, because waiting is hard. And sometimes my term, waiting is just a little bit on the ghetto side. I'll be like, listen, we could skip over this part, Lord. But you are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance.
Have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Tired of dating the wrong one? Do you keep asking God, where is my Boaz? Are you ready to marry the man of your dreams? Fleshly Date or Godly Mate is the book for you. It gives you insight on the difference of dating with or without God in the middle. And it prepares you for God's best. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. You can purchase Fleshly Date or Godly Mate at maryleevance.com. Are you a business looking for ways to advertise your brand at an affordable rate? Do you want your brand in front of real people and a real audience? Do you need help with what to say and how to promote your message to the world? Whether you have a clothing brand or you're a makeup artist, a top-tier food brand wanting to attract customers to your tasty food, or any product or service, Virtue with Vision would love to partner with you. Virtue with Vision can help you with your script, setting up your commercial, and an ad spot on Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Let us help you take your brand to the next level. Send all inquiries to info@maryleevance.com. Again, that's info@maryleevance.com to get started at an affordable rate today. Virtue with Vision is the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Go subscribe to this podcast and go tell a friend. If you need a relatable podcast to listen to while you're going to work or cruising out on the town, Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is for you. We laugh, have fun, grow, and get a little bit more acquainted with God each time. Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is available on all media platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe today so you can check out all of my past and upcoming episodes. Go subscribe now. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best.
Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. I have Prophetess Katara with me today, and she killed the first segment of this entire show. So this is about to get really good. Waiting. Mm-hmm. I still have trouble with waiting sometimes. I just be like, I don't get it, God. What are we doing? Am I not on your page? Can I hop on your page? Can I hop on your timetable so I'm not impatient? Mm-hmm. How do you deal with waiting?
You know, the one thing about waiting, and the hardest thing is waiting.
Facts.
That's it.
That is a fact.
And while you're waiting, I'm a believer that there should be no wasted time, because you can't get time back. Mm-hmm. And so my advice, my insight is, while you're waiting for a particular thing to come to pass, I believe it's very wise to go into the future of that thing, get everything you need to know, come back, and then occupy yourself until it comes to pass. So I mentioned this a little earlier. I think it's very important that whatever you do, you need to know everything about it, right? Because it gives you the cutting edge. I believe that this came to mind when we were waiting to come back into the podcast. Remember when you used to go to the doctor's office, and while you were in the waiting room, our day now with cell phones, back in the day, it was magazines. Mm-hmm. And so they would have magazines on the table, because watch this, no matter how you wanted that appointment to hurry up and come, if someone was before you and their issue was more serious, you had to wait. You can do nothing about waiting, but just wait. And so while you're waiting, you occupy yourself. You find out everything you need to know about what it is that you're believing God for. And that is the indicator to me when people really believe, because when they really believe, they gather everything they need to know so that when the door opens, they're ready to walk right through. Mm-hmm. Most times, I can tell that people wait in a position of just waiting, because when the door opens, when the curtain is raised, they're not ready. They're not prepared. And I can tell that they're just waiting. They're just waiting for something to come to pass. But while you're waiting, find out what it is that you're about to do. Find out what market works, that business will work best in. Find out who likes it and who doesn't. And it's very key how you wait. It's very key what you confess while you're waiting. We've seen those moments when you've been waiting for something and you've been complaining, and the owner of that facility will hear you complaining. And so they'll push something back, or they'll stay in the back a little longer, right? They'll stay back a little longer, because if you're going to complain while you're waiting, then I'm going to make you wait longer. Sometimes God doesn't allow things to come to pass immediately, because he knows, watch this, that not only is he preparing us, but he's also preparing the place that he's sending us to.
Ooh,
because if you're not ready and you get there, that place will reject you because it knows you're not ready. So there are many times that while we're waiting, God is not just preparing us, but he's getting that place prepared. He's putting the people in place. He's making sure the finances will be fully supplied there. He's making sure that when you get there, it's not about getting there. It's about being able to stay there. So while we're here, I always say he's the God of provision. Tell me when I'm talking too much. He's the God of provision.
You're not. I'm sitting here like, yes, she's helping me, Lord. Listen.
Yeah, he's the God of provision. Before we get there, he's already been there and he's provided everything that we need. What happens is we're captured by time. We can only be in this time because this is the only time we can be in. We're not at a place that we can be here at 7 o'clock and then in 20 minutes go to 10 o'clock. No, time has been structured for us to protect us.
Yeah, that's good.
We want things to come to pass immediately, and the place isn't prepared for you. How many times have a person walked into a surprise party that was not prepared and everything was ruined?
Listen,
Right. Let's meditate on that for a second. They get there and it's like everybody's been working hard for 6 months to get this surprise party ready. And then they show up before time and they run into
Mhm.
the lady that's decorating. Everything is now thrown out. So what you've been waiting for has not been prepared. That's how it is with God. He'll make
That's
you wait,
good.
preparing not only you, but he's preparing where you're going because he doesn't want you just to get there. He wants you to dominate there.
Ooh, dominate. I like that. Now that was really good because a lot of times, I look at it as this new age that we're in, this influencer age where it's a thing, and if you blow up overnight because
Yeah.
you've made a reel, or you blow up overnight because you made a funny video, now the income comes and you have zero idea what to do with it. You
Yeah.
have zero idea how to handle it. You don't have your systems. And like you said earlier, systems are important.
Mhm.
Systems are what I live by. If we don't have a system, I'm going to be confused. I'm not going to be able to operate without one. But it's knowing that if God's given you the vision, no matter how long it takes, it has to come to pass. If he's shown you a vision of you being this human, of being able to help people in a certain way, or you're going to open up a center, or be this type of individual that is bigger than where you are now, you need to work while you're waiting,
Yes.
because his word does say faith without works is dead. And I feel like people just play with that word. They don't understand the works part of it. Sometimes it causes you to be prepared for where he's taking you. Works is being prepared for where he's taking you. Maybe you're going to be in some type of service where you have to serve people regularly. But right now, all you can do is serve at your church. All
Right.
you can do is serve at the kids ministry, or in the kids ministry, or a greeter. But if you're unwilling to even take that step, how can God open or unlock the door that he's called you to?
Yeah.
So I don't like waiting, and I don't like process, and I tell God I don't like it. I don't even like patience. I know you said patience was a virtue, Lord, but I'm not with it. But every single day he shows me that I don't care if you like it or not, this is what you're going to do.
Mhm.
So how have you been able to in your life be able to push past how you may feel in your flesh, and
Mhm.
being able to trust God where you are until something comes to pass? Like, how are you able to literally be like, you know what, God, I am not comfortable right now. I'm not feeling this, but I trust you.
Yeah. I often go back to past experiences.
Yeah.
Moments that I felt like I wasn't gonna come out, moments that I felt like it's too much, moments that I felt like I'm about to crack, I'm about to lose it. I go back and I think about the moments that was the hardest for me, and I
Mhm.
just I just trace how he brought me through, and I just sit in that, right? Because in those moments you're frantic, you're excited, you're anxious,
Yep.
you're full of fear, but in those moments, when you really think back and you calm down, you see how waiting gave you something that being in a hurry couldn't give you. And so for me, I rely a lot on what I've seen prior, right? I rely a lot on what I've seen God bring people through with my own eyes.
Yeah.
I rely on that. I've seen God perform miracles. I've seen God do things where people waited and at the last moment he brought them out. I've
Mm.
seen people get hurt, seen people with diagnosis that I've heard with my own ears that said you have only a certain amount of time to live, and they're still living today. God stretched your years. So I understand for me that it's very important about vision. I'm a visual person. I have to see things, right? Um, the Bible says also that faith come by hearing, hearing by the word of
The word
God.
of
And
God.
I believe
Mhm.
in this season it needs to be coupled. God gave something to me coming into the end of last year, middle part of last year, coming into this year that I've been repeating that He shook the earth for the proper placement for the sons of God.
Okay.
That's why the earth was shaking, so that we can be inserted in particular places. We're living in a season now where it's going to be more about what people hear, it's going to be about what they see. I remember the Lord spoke to me. He said, people are going to know me not by a track, but by your lifestyle.
Ooh, that's good.
We're in an age where a track isn't going to get it. Can I say this? We're in an age where a flyer isn't going to get it.
It's not.
It's not. They're going to look at your lifestyle and say, if Mary can do this and she can wait, as long as she waited, then I know I definitely can. And
Yeah.
so that's how I wait. I wait because I've seen God bring us through. I've seen God perform miracles. And I know, like he did it then, he's gonna do it now. I just have to encourage myself. And it's something that I live by. Faith is a lifestyle
It
for me.
is.
People
Absolutely is.
adopt lifestyles where they eat right and do all that. Faith is a lifestyle. I simply believe God. Is
That's
it easy
it.
all the time? No. Do I
No,
want to cry? Yeah, half the time. But I just simply believe. So after I go through all of those emotions, because we're human, after we go through all of that, what's the bottom line? The bottom line is I believe God.
period.
It-
Yep.
my belief is my faith. What I've seen him do, and that's how I wait. I wait because I know that where I am, I'm not going to always be. I say this every day I wake up, I'm a day closer to my miracle.
One day, listen, one day closer, period.
Closer. And I always live by this. Today could be the day. Could be the right phone call, right text message, the
The
right
email,
box
it
email.
could
It could be anything. So
anything. And you're absolutely correct. I like your stance on, you know, your lifestyle. People are going to see you by your lifestyle.
yeah,
Oh, that's so important because, people can be like, oh, Jeremiah 29:11, but be like, oh, I'm this, I'm that. What you say about me online? Like, it's a little confusion
yeah,
with your life and how you act. I'm confused.
yeah,
So I purposely do this podcast. It's purposely done because why? I want to be able to show people the authentic love of God and allow people to know that hey, I go through faith fights too. Life ain't easy. Life be life, and that's what I say. Life
yeah.
be life, and it don't take not one day off.
No.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's just how you posture yourself. I struggled so hard the last couple of years, Prophetess Katara, because me and my husband were believing God for a child, and I'm like, okay, is this it? Okay, is this it? And then you go to the doctors, and their doctor's like, well, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I suppose like I swore you went to school for this. I'm
right.
confused.
Yeah.
Why you don't have answers? So I used to put this stress on myself, and I would go into this anxiety and this depression, and it was circular because month after month I was not getting the results that I wanted to see until I got to the point where I was just like, you know what, God, it's not my time. I figured this out clearly. It's not working on my time, but it's happening on your time. And I said, while I wait, reveal to me the reason why I'm waiting. Reveal to me why I'm in the posture and in the time frame that I am now, that I'm unable right now to see it come to pass.
Yeah.
And that was just a prayer, and I was like, let me just continue about my day. But a couple of weeks ago, I was laying in bed, and was before I got up for the day, and God just showed me a whole center, like a center for women that struggle with fertility, a center for women that struggle with PCOS, that struggle with endometriosis, that struggle with miscarriages, that struggle with just trying to conceive. And in faith, when you're in God and when things happen, your faith gets weary because you're like, it's happening so easily for other people and it's not happening for me. So what is the reason? And God just revealed to me that it's going to be a center focused around women who need that comfort in that time, because there's not a lot of it. It's kind of like, oh, well, just trust God and have faith. Sometimes
You need that support.
we need some support, We need therapists.
Yeah.
We need people that are going to love on us really hard and be gentle, because it's a sensitive topic that not a lot of people like to talk about. They keep it bottled up to themselves, because I'm speaking this because I was that human.
Yeah.
Where I was just like, I'm just not going to mess with anybody or talk to anybody about it, because I don't want to bog someone down about my failure to conceive or why I feel so heavy. But it wasn't until I was able to silence myself and I was able to be like, you know what, God, outside of how I feel, outside of my emotion, outside of what I may be going through, reveal to me the purpose. And the fact that I know that there's purpose behind it. It's not that it's not going to happen, because I am a firm believer that it is. I'm gonna have 5 of them. 5 of them kids, and they gonna go to their grandma's house. Just kidding, Mom. Just kidding. But I am a firm believer that this center that God has placed on the inside of me is going to be able to transform so many women's lives that have been struggling alone, that need that outpouring of love. So sometimes when you're in the middle of a faith fight or struggle, or you're distraught, or you are feeling hopeless in a situation, you're curious if God is ever going to bring you through something, I challenge you to ask God what he is doing in the midst of you waiting. So then you have this peace, his peace that surpasses all understanding of what may be going around you, what the internet says, what the doctor says, what XYZ says. You have this peace that surpasses all understanding, because you understand that there's purpose. There's always a purpose behind what God does in your life. So I totally understand now the measure of waiting. I know waiting is hard. Waiting is really difficult when you want to see something come to pass, but it's so important when you grasp the knowledge of what God is actually doing, because all things work together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. So if you love him, if you sincerely love him with all of your heart, you are called. There is something on your life that you're called to beyond just yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So guys, we are going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some things you can do. It's like, well, of course, you want to make sure that you go ahead and purchase Prophetess Katara's prophetic journal, because that's going to help you. And it's going to guide you. And that's something that you need in your life. But we're also going to give you some practical steps on what you can do right now while you wait, in the midst of building your business, in the midst of doing business God's way. So you are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance.
Let's talk it. You gotta rock it too. What am I talking about? Virtue with Vision apparel. That's right, my t-shirt line. We not only know we're anointed, but we rock that anointed drip. We read that we should work like Ruth, have discipline like Esther, and pray like Hannah. Why not wear what you believe? Virtue with Vision apparel line believes that we not only read the word, teach the word, and speak the word, but we wear the word too. Go to www.maryleevance.com today and get your drip today. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best.
Do you have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Virtue with Vision is the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Go subscribe to this podcast and go tell a friend. If you need a relatable podcast to listen to while you're going to work or cruising out on the town, Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is for you. We laugh, have fun, grow, and get a little bit more acquainted with God each time. Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is available on all media platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe today so you can check out all of my past and upcoming episodes. Go subscribe now. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best.
Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Prophetess Katara, man, you are an amazing woman of God. This has been such an amazing episode to start and kick off doing business God's way. So I want to start off by asking, what are some practical things that people can do in the midst of while they're waiting or preparing? I know that we've mentioned a couple of things like work while you wait, because it is biblical. If you in faith for something, you got to be working towards something, honey. We just don't wait to the Lord and just be like, okay, Lord, is it in my lap yet? Because Jesus is going to laugh at you. He's going to be like, ha, 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 my daughter, you're funny. But what are some practical things that people can do while they wait?
Yeah, I think two things are very important for this season that we're in. The first thing that I would say is that you need a change of environment. It is very key to just get, 2 years we've been in a pandemic, and we're still there in some areas. I think it's important to go and get a different view. Wake up to something different. Go somewhere that you haven't been, even if it's in your own town and city. Go downtown and stay at a hotel. Sometimes you have to be revived by what you see. So I think while you're waiting, you have to make sure that you don't get stuck on what you see, because every day we wake up, things are going to remain the same as far as what's in our environment, but we can change that. I think it's good to go to some water, right? Get up, go somewhere. If it's cold where you are, go somewhere where it's hot. Lay on the shore and just imagine. Just have vision. Just let the environment speak to you. For some people, warm weather triggers something in them. It makes them excited. It makes them full of certain. So I think the first thing is environment change. I think the second thing to do is to check your environment. So first we need environment change. The second thing is to check your environment and who's in it, who's around you, who are you connected to in this season. It's very key to have people that are around you that are going to hold you accountable to what you said. Hold you accountable to what you confess. And so I believe that in this season, we have to have people that are around us that will come and agree with us. I can say this, there is a prophet that is connected to me, and I'm going through things right now personally in my family, some things that my dad is fighting with and going through, but he's coming through. And you need somebody that would just simply agree with you, right? To come in while you're waiting for the promise to come to pass. No questions. No. Well, why do you feel that way? No, just simply agree with you and believe God with you. That's why the Bible says two is better than one. That's just not about marriage.
It's not.
It's not just
really
about
not.
It talks about how, 2 or 3 are gathered. That's just not about coming into a building and have
a corporate building. Exactly.
Yeah, it's not about that. It's about having people that are in your environment that just simply agree with you. And I think that's going to be key in order for you to see it come to pass, because honestly speaking, alone you get tired. you get weary. You start to question yourself, right? You start to go through in your mind, but it's almost like the coach. A team cannot function without a coach. Why? Because the coach can see what you can't see. The
Okay.
coach is able to say, no, don't go that way, go this route. No, don't try to shoot a three. Go try to get to the foul line, to the 3-point line. The you know what I'm trying to say, the
The
free
free throw line.
throw line. Yes, that's it. Get to the free throw line.
Got
So,
you.
so you need a coach in order to guide you and to lead you. So I think it's very important that we have people that are connected to us that believe like we believe.
Yeah.
Change our environment. You need to change. You have to see things different in order to get a different perspective. So I think those are just two things that'll be able to get us to the promise that we have been waiting for some so long, for others not that long, but nevertheless we've all been waiting.
Absolutely. I think that is so important. Environment, who do you have in your ear? Because that is important.
It's important.
I spoke a little bit earlier, people that can just say, hey, I don't think you should do this business, but I mean, if that's something that God has given you, why shouldn't you do it? I'd be confused. I'd be like, why I can't do that? What's your problem?
Right.
Because then you start to question. You have to question who you have around you. If and sometimes it's not always, you want sound biblical advice or counsel, but at the same time, you need to understand and evaluate your circle, and what you're doing in your circle and how your circle is deterring you or pushing you towards the promise that God has for you. That's important. And I believe that, through the years, my little short years that I've been on this earth, God has changed my circle a lot. Where, placing people in my life that understand that I am a vision person. So if I'm speaking vision, and sometimes it's just my vision is all over the place, but it's like the same point. Like I'm just trying to get it out of my head. But I have people that are able to actually listen and hear and help me put it together.
Yeah.
Or I have people that are like, hey, well, I don't think that it's a bad idea, but let's stick with what we're doing.
Mhm.
It's just holding yourself accountable. You need accountability. Okay. You need accountability. So before we wrap up, I know that you have a gift. You definitely have a gift, Prophetess Katara. And I just want you to encourage people where they are right now, however the Lord sees fit for you, and whatever He has spoken to you, and however God decides to move you. I am opening the floor for you to operate in your gift, and then we'll go ahead and pray out like we usually do.
Yeah. Thank you again for having me on tonight. And I just want to speak to the audience, just to say to stay focused, to stay focused. I believe that we are in a season where things are about to happen immediately. And it's almost that saying, we've been getting ready, but now I just want to encourage everybody to
It's time.
stay ready.
Mhm.
Because things are about to happen quicker than what you know, because all of this time we've been being prepared. Now we're in the season where things are about to happen, that this is going to be a year of great manifestation. This is going to be a year where God is going to just do some things without, sometimes we feel like, well, God, you should have told me, or you should have, warned me that this was going to happen, but He doesn't get your permission. So
You don't need it.
I just want to encourage everybody to just stay in a place where you just simply, you keep believing and you stay focused. If God told you something, He revealed something to you, again, He did it because it's already yours. I have this thing that I always make people think about. When you go to test drive a car, right? You drive in a Honda right now and you want to drive a Toyota. So when you go to the Toyota lot after you test drive that car, when you come back and get in your Honda, all you now see is Toyotas, right? Because you became one with what you got in.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come off that lot, you hadn't paid attention. Now they've always been on the road, but you've been distracted because you
That's
were one with
good.
something else. After
Mm-hmm.
you test drive that Toyota, when you come back and you get in your car, all you see now are Toyotas because you became one with what you desire.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I just want to encourage everybody to become one with what you desire, whatever it is, big, small, something that seems like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Become one with it. You become one with it by becoming knowledgeable about it. You become one with it by also following people that have done what you've done. I'm a person, I love history. I love to sit back and watch documentaries. And when you think about the word documentary, it is a document of what has happened. And so documents are left for us to go back and to see how somebody came through, to see how they overcame. And so I believe that while we're waiting, just occupy yourself with things that are connected to where you're going. Occupy yourself with things that are connected to where you're going, and connect yourself with people that are, even if they haven't gone where you're trying to go, they're on their way. And
Yeah.
again, two are always better than one.
That's so good. You guys, this has been such an amazing show. Again, thank you so much, Prophetess Katara, for being with us tonight. If anything, if you've gotten anything out of this message, focus, understand your circle, and stay in faith. Understand that we all have to wait. We all have to go through a journey of waiting. But in the midst of waiting, ask God what the reason is. Ask God, what is He preparing you for? And be quiet enough to be able to hear when He speaks to you. So we love you guys. And before we hop off, we always pray. So God, we love you. We thank you so much, God, for who you are. There is nobody like you in all the earth, God. We thank you so much for speaking into us and giving us vision and giving us signs and wonders of the great things that you want to do in our lives, God. So we just want to say thank you, God. When we are in this place of preparation that you have for us, God, I pray right now that the preparation that you have for us will not go void, that the work that we're doing in the earth, God, that you will blow your fresh wind of favor up on our work, oh God. We know faith without works is dead. So God, we are continuing to work until we see it happen, until we see what you have given us come to pass, God. So I pray for every business owner that is in the midst of waiting right now in the name of Jesus, God. I pray right now that you bless them, that you help them understand that you haven't forgot about them, that there is still promise on the way, that your promise still stands, that you are not a man and you do not lie, God. So we just thank you right now for the vision that you've given these business owners that want to do it your way. God, we thank you for the promise and the vision that you've given business owners so they can change the people in the world, so they can see the light, so they can see your authentic love through them, God. So allow us to be able to walk into our authentic selves, knowing that with you all things are possible. And because we know with you all things are possible, we're able to help others believe that with you all things are possible. We love you, God, and we thank you so much for what you're doing in us, what you continue to change in us, what you continue to help grow in us. Continue to prune our characters, oh God. Continue to prune us in a way that you see fit, so we are prepared when your manifestation hits our lives, and it's only for your glory. We love you, God, and we give your name all the honor, the glory, and the praise. In Jesus' matchless and mighty name, amen.
Amen.
Well, again, thank you so much for Prophetess Katara for being with us this evening. You guys, I'll check you next week. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best.
You have just listened to the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. That's Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Go into this week winning in virtue. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Virtue with Vision is available on all major platforms. That's right, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe so you can check out all of my past episodes. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Have an awesome week.